Don't you sometimes get a little frustrated when you're reading a Bible passage and something miraculous happens in the story and all the characters carry on as if nothing has happened? They're completely matter of fact about it. Whereas if you or I had been there, we would have fallen flat on our backs. I much prefer it when the characters appreciate that what is happening is not normal. And that seems much closer to reality, much more human. Well, we see that in one of our New Testament lectionary readings, which is set for this Sunday, which comes from Romans 4, verse 13 to 25. And in this passage, Paul is talking about the faith of Abraham. And he says that when God promised Abraham that he would become the father of many nations, Abraham understood just how extremely unlikely that was. Paul says that Abraham was 100 years old, and in fact the text says that he faced the fact that his body was almost dead. And Abraham's wife, Sarah, could not have children. There was no realistic chance that he would father a child given these circumstances. Abraham knows that something miraculous has to happen for him to have a child. But Paul says that against all hope, Abraham in hope believed, and so became the father of many nations. Isn't that a wonderful phrase? Against all hope, Abraham in hope believed. Abraham recognized that he had no business becoming a father as a 100-year-old man, but he believed two things. One, he believed that God had promised this very thing to him, and two, that God was able to do the impossible. And you get a sense as you read through the scriptures that God is absolutely delighted with this incredible trust that Abraham shows. So first, Abraham was convinced that this was God's promise to him. And this conviction was born of multiple encounters with God, lots of listening and multiple occasions where God had spoken to him. It was not just an idea that Abraham had conjured out of thin air. He didn't just think that having children was something that he should be entitled to, so he claimed it as a promise. He firmly believed that this was God's promise for him. And then the second thing, unlikely, or rather impossible as it was, Abraham believed that the Lord who created the universe, if he wanted to give a child to an elderly couple, well then, nothing could stand in his way. Now Paul says that Abraham is our spiritual father, which implies that you and I can learn from him and walk in his footsteps as his descendants. And so I wonder, is there something that God may have promised to you or me? Now, I realize that's a risky question to ask because there is the chance that we may go down a name it and claim it rabbit hole, a prosperity gospel heresy, that we will give free license to our most self-absorbed fantasies and claim these things as promises from God. But it is a question worth wrestling with, a risk worth taking, I think. And that is to really ask ourselves, is there something that God is calling me to? Is there some deep longing in my heart that God is speaking to? Is there a promise that God is making to me? And even if things feel hopeless, is there an invitation for you and I to walk in the footsteps of our ancestor Abraham, who against all hope, in hope, believed, and so became the father of many nations? Amen.